I wanted to do a video on some cheap tools you can buy, Um, everybody's got some of these grinders, the cheap ones. I've got several of them. Some of mine are pretty good. That's a Milwaukee. I picked this up at a year-end closeout at a hardware store, Orchard Supply, I think. And I only paid like 29 bucks for it because it was a closeout. This is an old Makita I picked up at the flea market for 10 bucks. Ended up having to replace the bearing, and of course the switch went bad, so I put a little toggle switch on it there. This here also turns like 8,600 RPM instead of 10 or 11,000, which I like on that. This is a 9-inch I got from Harbor Freight. It was on a closeout. Both these I got this one first, I think, and then this one around 2004. Anyway, I only paid like 29 bucks a piece for these. This is a 9-inch, and it turns 6,500 RPM. So it's like I said, it'll turn a 9-inch wheel, so it's got plenty of power. And this is it's a sander polisher, but it's more for buffing. It does from 0 to 3,000 RPM. It's variable speed, and you can set the speed, and it's load sensing. So if you put more pressure, it won't slow down. So, and I got these two. I'm not sure if I bought these from that Homeyer Distributing Corporation or whether I bought these from Harbor Freight. I don't remember. I think I got them from Harbor Freight though. But I've had these longer than these here, and they've held up pretty well. This one here turns 8,000 RPM, and this one here is a regular one. It's 10,000. This is a cheap one I bought from Homeyer Distributing, and I used it one or two times and it quit working. And this is another cheapy one from Drill Master from Harbor Freight. This is another cheap Harbor Freight, a real old one. That's probably the first one I had out of all these right here. And this is Black & Decker. This is like 29 bucks or something. Anyway, I wanted to make one of these belt files. And I was thinking about using this because I've had it. I kind of messed up the gears when I first got it, and I figured it's because they weren't shim right or something. But it's kind of funny. I wanted to show you the similarities between two. These are reasonably close layout. They both have this one's got a rocker switch. This one's got a trigger. But the housings are about the same size, and the heads are the same. I've turned this head 90 degrees because I was going to use it for that belt sander. But and you'll notice the heads look similar. Well, the only thing is this one's metal. And this thing here is all plastic. This is plastic. This is plastic. Pretty cheaply made. What I was really surprised is when I took it apart to reshim this. See if I can get a close up. Oh, come on, focus. Phone. There it is. See how the teeth are leaned over? Well, the reason the teeth are leaned over is this thing has plastic gears in it. And even the this pinion gear in here, it's plastic too. I couldn't believe that they put plastic gears in these things. So anyway, I didn't use it. I didn't use it for my belt file. I just went ahead and used this one. This is a new one I bought last tool sale for 10 bucks. So anyway, I paid like 10 bucks for this, and that's a good example. Both of these I paid 10 bucks for. All three of these. This one I've had for probably 15 years maybe, and it's still working fine, And this one here is the same age. These are a little newer, but they all still work. I don't push them real hard, so I just get a bigger. If I'm going to push something hard, I get a bigger grinder. So, but anyway, I wanted to show that. Anyway, the reason I wanted to make this video was this portable bandsaw I bought. This is another one I bought from that Homeyer Distributing, and I only paid $59 or $69 for this, which is like 10, 20 bucks cheaper than what Harbor Freight was asking for theirs. I think theirs was like 79. But the problem is after all these years, I've had this since 2002 or 3 probably. Yeah, probably 2003 or 4. 2003 or 4. So 13 years or so anyway. The problem is it's the plastic is falling apart, and it's just the black stuff. All the blue, all this blue plastic's all still fine. There's no cracks, or I don't see any age or any signs of it. Any signs of it, from sun or anything. But I don't know what I'm going to do with this. If I'm going to throw it out, I really don't want to have to. I can buy another one from Harbor Freight for $100. Their newer model. It's not the same as this old one. But I don't know if it's worth it to me to build. I could build this part. It's kind of complex, and I may be able to recycle part of this. I don't know. But it's cheap plastic stuff. This thing too. Also, it's amazing. It's some of these are. This housing is actually die cast or aluminum. I think they're probably die cast, but it's a lot better than plastic. It's like this, same company. Everything's cheap plastic crap. But I just thought that was something to look at when you're looking at stuff. You never know what you're going to get for the price, and just because something's cheap doesn't mean it's not going to last. Like I said, I've had these 15 years. Over here, I've got a Taiwanese-made drill press I bought back in 1979. I have 2 drill presses, and that's the one I still use the most. And then I've also got a Jet 6-inch bench grinder I bought in 1979, and I'm still using that. So I've got cheap stuff, that I could show you some of them probably. But they still work, and I've had them for a long time. This is another one that's Homeyer Distributing, I guess it is. Anyway, I bought this too. I only paid, I don't know, 39, 49 bucks for this. But the first thing that went bad, it's plastic. Their plastic is really crappy. This roller fell apart. So I made a new one out of ABS and PVC and just, shoved one pipe inside of another and glued them and made a full roller. And I got a lathe, so then turned it out. And just recently, this bottom drive roller quit working. And it's actually like the shaft was splined, like a knurl type spline. And anyway, the plastic let go of it. So it started spinning. So I drilled it out and put a couple of set screws in it, and drilled the shaft too, so they would go into the shaft. And then I made another little a little rest for the side. But this is really old too. It's probably it could be 15 years old, 12 to 15 years old, but it still works. Cheap grinder from Northern Tool. This thing I paid 49 bucks for it, and I had to completely rework the belt thing to get it to work. And I took the grinder off, and I picked this up for 25 bucks with about 5 or 6 belts for it. Anyway, it works pretty good. As far as stuff lasting, you can't see it hardly. This is an old Milwaukee drill. I've had this 40 years plus. And then I bought I bought this in the 1970s, I guess, probably maybe late 70s. It's a Rockwell, 3/8 variable speed. It doesn't reverse though, but anyway, it still works. And I only paid $9.95 for that too, and it's got a really long cord too. So, and then this is my dad. This is probably from the late 60s, and this thing still works. The plastic you can see is from age is just really warping here, warping out, but it still works. I just used it here a few months ago. That's my jet bench grinder. It still works. It's getting it doesn't have as much power as it used to, and I think there's a capacitor in the base here, so I'm going to change the capacitor out. But it still works, so I'm still using it, and it's from 1979. This is my old drill press. It's 1979, and I've done some mods on it too. You can see I put a big pulley on it for low speed and a tray and stuff. But from 79, so it's still, like I said, I use it all the time. So I actually use it. I rarely use this one. That one's pretty nice though because it's got a powered down feed. So it's good for drilling big holes because you can just flip the handle over and it power down feeds. So I think the one thing, if you're buying these cheap grinders, just remember that it's a cheap tool and you can't expect a lot from it. So if you want to push something and you're going to lean on it hard and make it work hard, well then buy a good one, you know. Buy a name brand one, Makita or Milwaukee or whoever, you know. We had a Porter cable, the shop I used to work at, and we used that thing. It was a 4.5-inch Porter cable, and we used it every day for years and years. And finally, the commutator on the armature blew apart. And that was the end of it. But I mean, it gave us good service, you know. So if you buy a better one, then you're going to be able to lean on it, and it's going to hold up. As far as these cheap ones, though, like I said, if you're going to do a lot of heavy grinding, use a big grinder so you can really lean on it, and it's got a motor that will pull the load. So these are okay, but you can't push them a lot. If you're really pushing them, you'll burn up. The brush holders are real bad in them too. So anyway, go watch out what you're buying. Make sure that they're not cheap plastic crap like this one. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. See ya.